welcome to the Dejounte Murray podcast. My name's Sean. Joining me today is the one and only Marco, Hungry Jacks, Mr. Hungry Jacks, my man. How are we?
Good, Sean. Good to see you for the first time ever.
Yes, with the eyeballs. Welcome to our living room. What's the rule? We can't look at it.
Don't look at the camera,
Okay,
man.
cool. Yeah, doing video. I guess that's a good place to start. If you're listening to this on Spotify, you will be able to watch the video if you have that enabled on your device, or if you go onto YouTube, you can watch us do this podcast as well. We are doing this for the first time ever. You did it a bit in JVG of old.
Yeah, but I think the lesson from that is like we kind of 50%ed it, and it's like you got 100% it. Otherwise it just looks shit. You know?
Well,
I know the only person who consistently actually watched it was, well, you know, member of the show Alessio, and God, it's just because he's the sweetest man ever.
Yeah. Well, it's good to know. Fuck, I looked again. It's good to know that Alessio will be watching.
Yeah. Hey, mate.
On that, this is obviously we're doing something new here. If you to the listener at home know much about video, if you have any tips for us, let us know, because this is all a whip.
It's
all a work in proggy for us. Let us know on the lighting, let us know on the framing. We think it's pretty good. But,
but also, you know, we're saying that before we've even had a look at the final product.
This by the time you're listening to this, we will have known a little bit more. But any more intros or?
It was just funny, like. You know, I was walking over here and I've just showered, my hair's a bit wet, I haven't shaved in a couple of days, couldn't find my new Deep 2 hoodie, the up-to-date one that we're trying to vlog. So if you'd like a hoodie, please DM us. It's just $69 an item. So I'm wearing my vintage OG Deep 2.
That we no longer sell.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to start scrubbing up a bit before the pods, you know, thinking about what we look like. And
well, yeah, because I was sitting there playing Borderlands like just before you rocked up, and then like when you messaged me said I'm on my way, I'm like, I got to do something with this fucking scenery. I got to put some jerseys in the background. I know Dunked On Pod, they have Danny LaRue got Nate Duncan some game worn rookie sophomore all-star game-ish shorts worn by Mason Plumlee, and they're like 4XL, and he framed them in the background.
That's sick.
Great. That's a great thing to have in the background.
Yeah. We can do like Alessio Conte, like game worn basketball shorts.
Game worn Dejounte Jordan. I mean, I can put in like my come in your jersey.
Yeah. You got. I was talking with my housemate Ollie about this just before. You got so much good background stuff, man. You got posters, you got jerseys, you got figurines.
Say what you will about Sean, he has a lot of shit.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
Yeah. All right. Well, you already talked about Tassie in the last pod. Marco's mailbag, good pod.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. It's a good segment. We should do it more often. You asked two banger questions as well, I thought.
Thanks. I was very happy. I actually forgot my second question: the Sheen daughter or Ish Big's son.
So funny, man.
But
the question was the best part of it, I thought.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I was thinking, like, you know, it would be pretty funny if you do get a Yves Saint Laurent shirt in honor of Yves Missy, but it's like, why couldn't we make like a fucking, I don't know, like why wasn't his name like Champion Missy? You know, it's like it's just $50 for a shirt, but you got a fucking or like Brooks Missy.
Champion sounds like one of Precious Achua's siblings.
Sir Champion. But then now it's like, you know, if you do want to make a joke, you have to spend like, what, $150 on the shirt?
Probably.
You know, it's like,
look, and like we'll get into it, but let's see how he pans out before I drop 150 on him. There's always DHgate, you know, I'm sure, as well as high quality jerseys, they have high quality Yves Saint Laurent knockoffs.
I was on DHgate trying to buy soccer jerseys the other day, because you didn't come to the pub. I've got this really nice like AC Milan like Champions League 2007
nice.
Athens.
Dope.
Yeah,
Wow.
I got it in Cambodia. That's where they're made. And I'm like, man, some of the fake jerseys, like, they go off. I should get some more, but I didn't. I saved myself.
Hey, there's always next year.
But speaking of Yves Macy, New Orleans Pelicans. We're in the middle of the off season, so coming just having people on talking about their team. So I was doing some research for this. We're just going to do a bit of a season preview for the Pels. I can't believe you won 49 games last year. That's the first thing that I couldn't believe when I was putting all this stuff together.
Some pretty deep research for you to find that out as well, Sean.
That's a lot of wins.
Yeah. And it was like, you know, it was one of those terrible losses in that like 8-game stretch before we, you know, won the last 2, I think it was, to to lock in, what were we, ninth seed? Eighth seed.
And then you lost to OKC. Sweet.
Yeah. But like, yeah, if we hadn't thrown away one of those stupid games, 50-win season, and you can't really knock a 50-win season. You feel like you can knock a 49-win season.
Yeah, it's very knockable because everyone had 49 wins, but fuck, like, it's pretty good. Yeah. Like, if it's like, the Wizards never won 50 games with John Wall and Bradley Beal. Like, that famously, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And then now it's like, it seems like you're further behind the 8 ball. I'll let you introduce your moves, because I think your candor while saying them will say a lot.
Well, yeah, I mean, the biggest move was obviously the Dejounte Murray trade, which I think me and Dante talked about, actually, which was, it's a rare occurrence, which, I mean, we'll get into the details of it, but yeah, we sent back Dyson Daniels, Larry Nance Jr., and some pretty bad first-round picks, and it's just looking like one of the most head-scratching trades of the off-season, okay, can see why you need to bring in that sort of firepower, but why him? And then we let Jonas Valanciunas walk, who, for all his shortcomings, like, he has been our starting center for the past 3 seasons, and like, he's played 82 games a season and just, gone out there and played the center role. And yeah, we just brought in this sort of fleet of replacements. You've written Yves Missy, Daniel Tice, Carlo Matkovic, and Trey Jemison III.
Well, just skip over it.
Well, I just had to, for emphasis, I had to put him at the end. And like, it's pretty difficult to see us kind of covering 48 minutes at center from those selections, or even 40 minutes, because we did have good stretches where Zion was comfortably playing 6, 7, 8 minutes a game at the 5, which is like, I think, where we want to be as a team. But yeah, it's just in an off season where like everyone kind of re-upped, got better, re-signed all their good dudes, and there are obviously some teams in the West who like, maybe took a step back. Like, Denver Nuggets aren't looking great, both in who they lost and like how Jamal Murray looked in the Olympics. But like, yeah, we almost, like, we kind of got much worse by addition, by the fact that now we have like 4 ball dominant players, 3 of them who can't shoot threes, who 3 of them basically have to start for us in Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, and Dejounte Murray. So yeah, that's my intro to our off season.
It's suitably grim.
Yeah,
it's the Dejounte Murray move is like, it's very puzzling, because you've definitely, if you just look at it as players in, players out, you've like upgraded Dyson Daniels. Like, you've put Dyson Daniels into the Pack-a-Punch machine and brought back a dude where it's like, he's got that like mid-range game, he can hit a couple of threes, I guess, in a pinch, and he's like a much more mature defender. But like, you've still got CJ on the team. Like, I can't believe you traded Larry Nance, who's a good backup 5. You've Dyson Daniels, who's a good backup guard. Like, maybe that's all he is for the rest of his career, but very serviceable. For Dejounte, who like, on offense is like a worse Brandon Ingram. On defense, incredible, right? But you don't really need guard defenders. You need big defenders.
We've actually got great guard defenders.
And this just like, I guess CJ comes off the bench now, unless Brandon Ingram gets traded. But then even if Bingers does get traded, which Herb and Trey I think should be starting. Even if you do trade Brandon Ingram, you're probably going to trade for a starter, whether that be a center, whether that be just another human being that's good at basketball, because I think that's his value. You've got 7 starters, and like, you don't feel good with any combinations of them.
100%. Like, Dejounte Murray and CJ McCollum both starting, that just feels like a non-starter for me, pardon the pun, because it's kind of like the Trey Dejounte situation, except CJ is nowhere near as good as Trey Young. He isn't making up for the fact that he can't guard point guards by being like, one of the 3 best offensive point guards in the league on his best day. And then like, Dejounte Murray just is, it's so weird. It's like he's completely, all his defensive instincts just like disappear the second he doesn't have to guard the 1. Like, it's not that different guarding the 2 guard. Like, why are you suddenly like, you go from being one of the league's best perimeter defenders to just being like pretty average the second you're not guarding a 6'3" player and they're 6'5" instead. you're 6'5". Like, you should be able to manage that assignment.
Yeah, I think his best position is definitely the one, which means which is good because your one has been CJ McCollum, which isn't a traditional point guard, which is like, it's worked fine, and you've got guys who can play make elsewhere. But I think you've traded for Dejounte, he has to start at the one. You've got twos that will fit perfectly alongside him in Herb Jones, like Hawkeye, if you just need extra shooting and like give up a little bit on defense, like Trey Murphy at 3. You've got like, it's there, but you've just still got CJ.
Yeah. And Brandon Ingram. I think the thing is, like, if you're going to have Dejounte Murray and Zion Williamson, who I like, we traded for Dejounte Murray, so we obviously want him, right? We might not want Brandon Ingram or CJ McCollum, but they are still on the team, but we might not want him. We want Dejounte Murray and we want Zion Williamson. The 2-3 next to them, Herb and Trey Murphy, that's perfect. That's like, Trey Murphy, one of the best three-point shooters in the league. He's taken great steps as a perimeter defender. He is also he is quite good. He's getting better and better off the dribble, as a sort of slashing 3. And then Herb Jones shot really well last year. You're not expecting him to shoot huge volume, but at least the threat is there. But while Brandon Ingram's on the team, you can't start both of those guys, alongside each other. And Trey's been coming off the bench his whole career basically, despite averaging 15 points on 45% from 3 or whatever he has at various points. When he started at the end of when Zion was injured in the 2022-23 season, he played easily the best basketball of his career. He was clutch. He was dropping 30 points, with Brandon Ingram. But there's just no way that you can fit those 3 players in together. I think the CJ McCollum thing, it's unfortunate he's still on the team. It's unfortunate he's still getting paid
$30+ million.
But him coming off the bench isn't a bad option. It's just the money and the age that's sort of concerning. But if we could get rid of Brandon Ingram tomorrow and bring in a good center, this mythical center, then I think the Dejounte Murray trade looks a lot better. Yeah, but I'm still, even then, he's just been an enigma everywhere he's gone.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to Brandon Ingram. You had a bit of a pre-training camp, and he didn't report to that training camp, and then he put a video on his Instagram story that quote something along the lines of, "You cannot stay in environments where people don't know the true value of you." I won't read the rest of the quote, but it was, he just says people know. It's Eric Bledsoe at the hairdresser, right? He doesn't want to be there. For what it's worth, Christian James, CJ McCollum posted to a story of him and Bingers yesterday on his story and said, "Happy birthday to my fellow Virgo."
Shout out me too, brother.
Fucking insane caption though. That's not what I would have expected. It's like Brandon Ingram is sort of agitating a little bit, which he's not, but he is. But it's just uncomfortable. For reference, the Orlando Magic are doing this sort of pre-training camp at the moment, and it just looks like the Orlando Magic are one team that legitimately really like each other from everything that we can see.
They're vibes contenders for sure.
They might be the number one seed in terms of vibes. Everyone's at that training camp. There's all these shots of them hanging out, playing basketball. It just looks exceptional. This could be you, but no, it's not.
Yeah. And they extended everyone to pretty player friendly deals, and Brandon Ingram's he was hoping to get an extension this offseason that didn't eventuate. I think it's funny asset management what's happening with Brandon Ingram, because he was on the trade market and there weren't really offers for him, but we didn't come out and say hey, we want to get rid of Brandon Ingram, give us what you want, which you can't do with a player of that level, because if they're on your roster next season, then you kind of fucked it. They're not going to want to play for you. They're going to. He's doing stuff like this, and he wasn't even being explicitly shopped around. It was just we'd be open for offers for him if the right thing comes on the table. But then it's how do you get rid of him? You're not really going to be able to generate interest in him.
You just have to let him walk or trade, because when the trade deadline comes around, if he's still on the roster and you guys are struggling, then the team's going to be well, we're going to give you 50 cents on the dollar.
Yeah, exactly.
And you literally can't do anything, because otherwise you just let him walk, and then the asset management's horrible. There might be a little bit of addition by subtraction, but Bingers is a really good player.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you thought about any trades? We didn't write any down, but have you thought about any Bingers trades that you'd like to see?
No. I think there were ones that were like whispered about in the off season. It was just like, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know? And like...
Well, is it like Jared Allen? That one? Which now can only happen the day before the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Which was there was an interesting report. I don't have who it was by, but it's the Cavs wanted to sign Jared Allen to his contract extension. It was like a renege and an extension. Like they made sure they signed him before that date that he would be ineligible to be traded.
Right.
The old
like
Larry
Larry
Markkinen, the
exactly
opposite
right.
of Larry Markkinen. So it was interesting that they, through sources, said that.
Yeah.
Which is like, I guess that's your saving grace. If you're like, what are we going to do? It's like, oh, we've got this 24-hour window to trade for Jared Allen, who like you would have your own fit concerns.
Yeah.
But any other names out there?
This is the concern I've had in this off season is like, we have to fix the center problem, and like I think we can go through in a bit like the players that we do have as an option there, and like you're not going to get Brook Lopez but 3 years younger. You're not going to get Kristaps Porzingis or
Miles Turner.
I mean Miles Turner's like the most gettable, but like the Pacers don't want to.
I don't think he
let go of him.
I think he's not gettable because of that.
Yeah. But like if you're not going to get that guy who fits perfectly next to Zion, then like you need to bring in someone who at the very least can do some of the things that Zion can't. Like, oh, okay, well, if you can't bring in a floor spacer, like bring in a good rim protector. Like, I don't know, bring in like Nick Claxton or like I would have loved Isaiah Hartenstein, when that was an option. But like the market for those players is kind of dried up it is.
Or you just couldn't afford it.
Yeah. And then it's the thing, it's like, all right, well, the only team that's really going to take Brandon Ingram is like what kind of like he's just a player who needs a lot of attention and a lot of the ball and isn't the best defender. So like, what is it, like a young team that needs someone to kind of like, drag them through the season and like have a good basketball player on their team? Like,
well, the trade I thought of and what I did in 2K is to get Naz Reid to you guys, right? But there's no trade that works where you just get Naz Reid. You can't. There's no trade that works with you guys just swapping a player, because otherwise you're giving up Herb Jones for Naz Reid, and it's like, well, what's the point, right? So it would be you guys get Naz Reid. You give the Wolves every pick under the sun, maybe like some low solo, maybe like Hawkeye, right? And then you just need to reroute Brandon Ingram elsewhere, because otherwise you'd be over the cap with the Naz Reid. So then the Charlotte Hornets or the Washington Wizards.
Yeah,
or a team
I was
like
thinking
that.
of the Wizards. Yeah.
Well, I like the Hornets, but it's all just one of those bad teams. Or maybe it's like whoever you reroute. Maybe it's like moving CJ to the Pistons, which was something that was like maybe rumored about a little bit when the Pistons were looking for shooters. They do have shooters now. So it's like rerouting Bingers to a young team that just sort of would be happy having an all-star appearance.
But again, it like you have to get him off the team is the kind of the bottom line of it. I mean, I don't mind the Washington thing for Washington, as in like, all right, here's like a guy who can actually play basketball for you, and like you can maybe you don't have to rely on Jordan Poole to flame out for 30 points or whatever.
Yeah, but so then are you getting back Kuzma? Is that?
Yeah, and then that's not really a good fit for us,
I think my Kuzma will be like, is he a worse or better Trey Murphy the third? Like, and maybe you've just got that supercharged wing rotation, still no center, or unless that's getting packaged in with the Naz Reid deal.
Well, I mean, what about that? What about a sort of three-way swap with Mini, Naz Reid, Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram?
You're getting a lot of the good players in that deal. It's a fucking tricky one. I think something has to change. I think we have to start the season. And a team has to be like, oh, we're a Brandon Ingram away from 49 wins, just like the Pelicans were. I think someone has to convince themselves. But to convince themselves, you generally want him to look good at the start of the year.
Exactly.
For him to look good at the start of the year, he has to like want to be there. The vibes have to be high. He doesn't have to have like two wings nipping at his heels to like get out there. Also, the spacing has to be good. And Dejounte Murray is now the point guard.
And is probably going to be demanding the same amount, if not more, of the ball than he is. Like, it probably is going to be like Zion, Dejounte Bingers in terms of touches. And like Ingram's never looked good getting the third most touches on a basketball team, you know? Like, he's good when he can get the ball 9 times out of 10 in the fourth quarter and like, you know, go on a great mid-range run. That's also when Dejounte Murray's good, by the way. It's also when Zion Williamson is good. So like, it's just not gonna, his value's not gonna go up, let's say that.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's take a little break and return soon.
This episode of The Deep 2 is presented by Gelateria Bico, the official gelato of The Deep 2. Gelateria Bico, handmade gelato in the heart of Brunswick.
The Jeff Van Gundy Tribute Show is your fortnightly dose of the lighter side of basketball, hosted by me, Marco.
And me, Lucas. We take a more laid-back approach, talking about the NBA, the WNBA, FIBA basketball, culture, whatever tickles our fancy or grinds our gears.
The show is filled with great guests, classic gags, and a healthy dose of tangents in honour of the great man himself.
The Jeff Van Gundy Tribute Show, fortnightly on the Deep 2 Podcast Network.
You know, loves just talking about the league, certain things like that.
You want to talk WNBA? Maybe some WNBL? Australian Opals chat? Heck, even dabble in some EuroLeague? Find the W Basketball Show on the Deep 2 Podcast Network.
And we're back. So that centre that we were just hypothesising you trade for, who's on the team?
All right, so I mean, you've put it here, and I think you're right that Daniel Tice is probably starting centre on opening night. Then we drafted Yves Missy in the first round. What pick did we?
21.
21. Yeah, not where you usually get like, you know,
the best players,
the starting centre of your next championship team. But like I think a very intriguing player, and sort of like what I was talking about before. If you're not going to get a floor spacer who can block shots, at least get the guy who can block shots.
Yeah,
you know?
at least get a regular centre.
Yeah. Like, you know, he's good with his feet. He's athletic. He seems to be, you know, he seems to block shots more than he fouls players, which is always good for a young guy as well. Then Carlo Makovic, who showed out in summer league. I was rewatching some highlights of him before, and it is just all Pelicans players being like, welcome to your new starting center. And it's like, just to hold your horses a little bit. But he's probably I think he's probably the most intriguing in that, like, he can theoretically shoot, you know.
Just because he's a white European centre. No, but you're right.
But, you know, like, there's a couple of times in summer leagues where, like, he'd fake a handoff and then, like, the centre would drop and he'd be like, oh, cool, I'll just ping that in. That's also, like, what Jonas Valanciunas did. So, like, offensively, it's like, well, he won't be as good. You know, we're not getting those kind of post saves that JV got, but we get his shots. And then he is, like, he's you know, he's athletic and he's tall and he's a lob threat as well, which like, you know, Valanciunas couldn't jump more than 15 centimeters off the ground.
Phone book, yeah. Like the Carlo Matkovic, so he was drafted in the second round 2 years ago, and he was drafted and stashed. Like, you know, I've never heard of him. You've obviously watched the highlights, but there was some podcaster who was like, oh, this dude's like, you know, I really liked him coming out of the draft. I think it was like Zach Lowe or something. He was like, oh, you know, he can actually do some stuff. And it's like, okay, well, we're hearing that he can do some stuff. You're hearing that Yves Missy's like, you know, he played fine in summer league and like he just plays his role. Yeah. Like, you might actually end up with like a couple more Daniel Tices by the sounds of it, which is, or they could just hit. You just never know. Yeah. It's not like all hope is lost.
No.
You don't want to talk about Trey Jemison III.
Not really, man.
Oh, he was on that.
What do you think the value out of Trey Jemison III is?
I don't know. He was on that Memphis team when they were tanking.
Yeah. I remember.
Yeah, it was like him, Scottie Pippen Jr. And like some crazy names in the middle. Too much Jake LaRavia.
That game 82 Memphis Grizzlies lineup will live in my memory forever.
Yeah, it's grim, but it's like a little bit too high vibey.
I think.
Like, why are we so positive? These are bad players.
I'm not positive about it at all. But like, okay, let's think about, I don't know, maybe like the Los Angeles Clippers, who would always just have like Zubats and like two other not very good centers and kind of strung together 48 minutes of good sentence, but like Vika Zubac is actually pretty good.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. If you had Zubac, you would be like a very good team.
Yeah. He's like, you know, JV but can't shoot and can block.
Maybe you can get Zubac.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout.
Yeah.
I've thought about that in years previously. But like Daniel Tice, like I guess the fit is there because, you know, he's littler, he can kind of shoot, he can move a bit, but he's just not that good, man. And
He's old.
He's far past when he was kind of serviceable, and yeah, I just felt like we were like, fuck, we're really going to be starting 2 rookies like at the 5 this season if we don't go out and get Daniel Tice, who's like the only gettable guy for us right now.
Yeah, and it was a guy that you got for the minimum. You had, I mean, you can't really say that you've got the full mid-level at your disposal because that would mean that you're going to pay the tax. So I guess you had like the taxpayer MLA. Who'd you bring in for that? Did you spend any money on free agents?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah. Is Tice on the minimum?
Yeah, Tice on the minimum. Yeah. Let's Jamie pull up that roster.
Which, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, we can't bring any more money in. Not because we're not allowed to, but because we're not. Because Gail Benson says we're not allowed to.
Adam Silver's not telling you.
Adam Silver's like, Benson. Please go for it. Like, I would love for you to do that small market team. But I think that it's interesting. Like, maybe we can talk about this before we get to how we actually think we'll go for the season. But like, the Dejounte Murray trade, you know, 2 first-round picks, good role player, good young role player, didn't actually, those picks were bad. We still have heaps of picks. Like, we've got all of our own picks, and we've still got like...
One more Lakers pick?
One more Lakers pick. Like...
But what else? You know, it's like you guys had the richest chest.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. It's like, we kind of half spent it on Dejounte. Like, we spent the bad part of it. There's still a lot to spend, but like... There's not like, you know, there's not an Anthony Davis amount like war chest to spend on an Anthony Davis type of player, sort of think of it in the reverse direction. So it's like, did we just kind of dwindle it? Like, did we, you know, like,
well, like one of the Anthony Davis pieces was Brandon Ingram. Yeah. You also had Lonzo Ball, who you let walk.
And Josh Hart.
And now he can't walk.
Yeah.
But yeah, Josh Hart as well. Josh Hart would be a good fit. Yeah, it's you let a lot of the pieces go, and then you drafted Dyson Daniels. I guess you got Trey Murphy. You traded up from that pick. That might have been your own pick, but you got off Dyson Daniels in the Steven Adams trade. You got Trey Murphy in the Steven Adams trade. Yeah. This might be it. Like,
there's not a like. Brandon Ingram has been a good basketball player for us, but like, if we have to let him go for less than value, then it's like, well, okay, so long term, we traded Anthony Davis for like couple of good young players and 2 playing appearances.
Wow. Yeah. You won the lottery that year. And you had the 4th pick, which you moved for Jackson Hayes.
Yes.
Jackson Hayes and a future Hawks pick, because that was to DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah, that's right. Fuck. Yeah, it's a bit grim. So, how do you see the Pelican season panning out, Sean?
Yeah, I can't believe you won 49 games last year. So actually, that's still unbelievable. So like, you know, I put it down here. Are you going to win below 42 range, 45-ish, or 50 plus? Mm-hmm. There's no way. Like, I think you've got the talent, obviously, to win 49 games. The fit is just so bad. Yeah. Like the Dejounte, CJ, like who's CJ defend when he's out there? He's coming off the bench. And then the whole Bingers stuff. Bingers going to have less room to operate. He also might not want to be there. We were waxing lyrical about centers, but they're probably not very good, right? No. And it's like, okay, well, maybe Zion's just going to say, prove that he's an MVP candidate and take you to the promised land. But he can't, because he's not operating in a lot of space, because he's got to play next to Bingers and Dejounte and a bad
let
center.
alone Eves Missy and Daniel Tice. Yeah.
And like the West has gotten better. Like everyone around you, like you talked about the Nuggets falling off, which is very brave of you to say, despite not mentioning that like the Kings also in the play-in got DeMar DeRozan. The Warriors, I'd say, got better. San Antonio Spurs have that tall guy. The Grizzlies are back in the conversation.
The
now.
Lakers stayed at least about the same.
Yeah,
you know?
And I think the Lakers, I don't love their roster, but they fit better than you guys.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, they've got less talent. So I think it's around 42. Like if I had to put a number on it,
God.
like if we're shaking hands
That's low,
today,
man.
oh, we can actually shake hands today on the
You see
pod.
that?
Yeah, watch the video. Send a video. Not funny at all. I'm gonna say 44 wins,
44 wins. I think.
and that might be too high.
I think that's probably right, but also, look, I'll end on a positive homer note. How about that? When when Zion's strung together health, like, which it's rare, but it happened. It happened last year. Like, the fit just hasn't mattered. Like, it's mattered, but like we were like red hot last season for huge stretches of it, and like we looked like we could make some noise in the playoffs if Zion didn't, fucking get injured with minutes left in the play-in game.
I forget about that.
Yeah. Like that we could be talking about last season very, very differently.
Yeah. If you won a series and then the next round's against Dallas, winnable, right?
Well, like probably not, but like maybe, right?
Yeah, I mean, if Zion's still out there, like, yeah.
And I mean, if Zion's still out there, we probably don't look as much of a wet fish as we did against OKC, because that was the kicker. The fact that it was just like the most pathetic 4-0 sweep. Like,
against a team with no experience there.
Yeah. And we were
poor bastards.
We were in that like CJ almost won us game 1, and then game 2, 3, and 4, like OKC phoned it in and just wiped the floor with us.
Yeah.
But when Zion is healthy, he has proven that it's like, I think when Zion's healthy and Willie Green is like, making the defense work, when those things align, like, it just doesn't really matter who else is on the roster, as long as like there's a couple of shooters and there's a 7-foot tall guy to stand under the ring sometimes,
Which you don't have.
And like, and usually it's better when Brandon Ingram is on the bench as well. So I think if Ingram sits out the first 20 games with some sort of difficulty, and then we manage to move him, and Zion plays 68 games, then I think we could match last season. But like, the difference between 44 and 49, it's not a lot, but it's a lot. Like,
you need to win a lot of close games.
Which is, given the track record we have with injuries, fit, etc. You're right, 44 could be high. Like, we just need one thing to go wrong, and we're a 42 team, a 42 win team again.
I think the Pels are like one of those toys you see at Kmart where it's like a dino discovery egg, where you open up this massive egg and then you got to like get this plastic hammer and like chip away at it. And once you like whittle down, there's like these little plastic dinos, and sometimes there's like a speck of gold in them, right? That is like, I think it's fine having Dejounte as your starter. Maybe you're starting just a shooting 2, right? Yeah. And then you've got Herb and Trey and Zion flexing at the 5 with just a 5 and pushing everyone up. That could be, like, if everyone's healthy, that's like a 50-win roster. I'm not even questioning it. You've got a ball handler who's very serviceable. You've got Zion who can lead you to the promised land, lead you to 50 wins when healthy. You just need to get there somehow, and I don't even know if you're going to get there in the next 12 months. And all it takes is a Zion, Pelicans 6-week injury, and the season's over practically. Or we're making a valiant resurgence for the 10 seed, like in the last 4 weeks of the season, which is New Orleans special. Not where you want to be. All right, so I've said 44 wins. What are you saying?
Oh God, I'm gonna say 45. I have to be confident, because we have three all-stars on our roster. They might be one-time / injury replacements.
I don't know, but it could be like the Wolves having like Levine, Wiggins, and Cat. They all average 20 points. Shut up.
But like, all right, who's better, Brandon Ingram or Andrew Wiggins? Well, only one of them has a ring, right?
Well, they're both one-time all-stars.
True.
One of them is a starter.
My God.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, I should put the flag up when we do the pod.
The flag?
Yeah, I've got the Brandon Ingram. I know the Andrew Wiggins dunking on Luka. 22 Western
you got to
Conference
put that
Finals.
up. Yeah.
Wow.
I think we should change this up.
Yeah,
You know,
it does look nice.
as
though.
often as we can, to be honest. Yeah. But,
And next time we'll put a jumper there.
yeah. Or another person. You know?
Yeah. Photoshop.
How are you, mate?
No, we'll do this. Screenshot right now and Photoshop you in doing a podcast. We can sell it for $5.
Fuck yeah, like a sort of
It's like
on our merch store.
Yeah.
Hoodie $69, hats $20. Photoshop yourself into the podcast.
Yeah, we'll put a watermark over it so you can't actually. You have to spend $5, spend $4.99 to get the EPS. It's so good.
That could be the second level on the Patreon, you know? It's like, you're just giving us some money for level 2. You're in the podcast.
Yeah, and we'll call it a cover photo.
Yeah.
So we're trying to make people. Do people update their cover photos? What's your cover photo on
Man,
Facebook?
I have no idea. I actually have no idea. I updated my profile picture for the first time in like 6 years. A couple months ago. Nah, like whatever, man.
Whatever, man.
Yeah. That was actually probably a year ago as well. How often do you look at Facebook? Like, come on.
Yeah, no, not often. No. Well, yeah. Let's finish the pod. So goodbye, and then we go quiet, and then I turn it off.
Ah, okay,
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that what you did?
What?
When you used to do the vids?
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I guess it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, good to see you guys.
Peace.
Ah!